Hello, it's me again in yet another hotel in yet another city. I meant to record this video last night so I could have it up this morning, but I passed out as soon as I got into the hotel. So this is going to be a little bit late, but this is for yesterday, Thursday. I was in Bentonville, Arkansas, and Fayetteville, Arkansas, and that whole surrounding area. Um, the first place I went to was called Second Editions Books, which is a Friends of the Library inside the Bentonville Library. I've discovered that there are two kinds of library bookstores. One where they just have everything available, and then the other, which is curated, gently read, usually newer books. This was the second of those, so there was not a whole lot for me of the type of stuff that I usually look for. I did find one book that is actually just classic literature, uh, Nikolai Gogol, Dead Souls. I was actually surprised that I don't own any Gogol. Um, I love satire. I love surrealist, weird stuff. And you would think that this would be something that I would have in my collection. I read him back when I was in college, but for some reason I never have purchased or bought anything. So I have corrected that now. So this is, I'll just read the back here. Dead Souls describes the gambits of a quixotic opportunist in provincial Russia who sets out to buy deceased serfs at a low cost from their owners. Chichikov requires evidence of property since he wishes to marry an heiress and is able to amass the souls because their owners must pay taxes on them until they are officially declared dead in the rolls of the next census. An affable and personal businessman, he is wined and dined in luxurious mansions and humble crofts, proclaimed a man of standing and thought to be odd and delightful. Gogol's panorama of fraudulence is lasting allegory and aligns him with Swift, Voltaire, Balzac, and Dickens as one of the world's arch satirists. So I'm glad that I have finally corrected this mistake and have this in my collection. The next place I went to, I'm not going to mention the name of the bookstore because I don't want to diss some small business who's just trying to survive. Um, but I don't know whether they overpriced, overpaid for their stock, or or they're just not in tune with what things are worth. They were incredibly overpriced. They did have a fantastic selection of the types of books that I like, but putting a CJ Cherry in a plastic bag and having it face out does not suddenly increase its value by 1,000%. 20 $25 for a CJ Cherry or an Andre Norton that I can find at literally any thrift shop or bookstore anywhere in the country is kind of outrageous. They did have quite a few matte backs, Dell matte backs, but they were all, a lot of them are the same ones that I just found during this trip that they were asking $35 to $65 for. So, and the crazy thing is that there's a lot of people in there just proclaiming how they loved how cheap the prices were that they were getting these for. And I'm thinking, I don't think you guys have ever been to any other bookstore. But anyway, good luck to them. I moved on to another place that was just outside of town in a town called Rogers, Arkansas, called the Friendly Bookstore. And this is also a Friends of the Library bookstore for the Rogers Public Library. And I did find some stuff there. And this was more of that other category that has a little bit of everything. I didn't find a whole lot of science fiction. That was mostly newer stuff. They did have a large selection of all sorts of stuff, but I did find some other books. This one, um, I think might be a little bit naughty, but it is Encounters in Eden by Pat Tierney. Now, this is not, there are three different authors named Pat Tierney. This is not the mountain climbing journalist who wrote books about South America. It is also not the Irish poet Pat Tierney. This is a third Pat Tierney, of which you can find practically nothing about on the internet other than he wrote this book, and it is supposedly a nudist naturalist fiction. So I'll just let me read. They came for an emotional striptease. Marie, a pretty young actress. Reed, the wheeling dealing super stud. Marion, the alcoholic masochist. Daphne, the eager Hollywood hopeful. Rod, the jet set gigolo. Eloise, the virgin. Kurt, the has been. Carol, the spy. Ernest, the evangelist. Mickey and Mimi, the nice young Jewish couple with sex problems. First they shed their clothes, then their inhibitions, and then the encounter really began. So there may be a reason why you can't find anything on him on the internet. They mentioned the book on Goodreads, but there are no reviews of it. I didn't know that nudist fiction was a thing, but when I do the book review, I will be doing it fully in the buff. Also, I found a John D. MacDonald, A Flash of Green. Naked, raw, ruthless power. It grips and it tears and it wounds. But that is, yes, that is one of the. Oh no, I don't know if this is a Travis McGee. I think this is not a Travis McGee novel. And then I don't know this author, but then I found a couple of mysteries. I don't know if anybody's heard of this Mrs. Joan Fleming, Miss Bones, but I love the cover. Grisly Murder in the Shop of a London Art Dealer. And I guess I should mention this was $2. The John D. MacDonald was $1. The Encounter in Eden was 50 cents. And also this Nikolai Gogol that I got from the other place was 25 cents. But going back to that one, the woman that was in that first one that had this for 25 cents, I had to pay by credit card. I didn't have any change. So I think she was she was worried because they get charged a fee from the credit card company when they use a credit card, and the fee was going to be more than what the book was worth. She was trying to figure out, so I told her just charge me $1 for it. So I paid $1 for it, but it goes to the library, and I am a big supporter of the libraries. So back to the other friendly bookshop. I got another mystery from there. It's Agatha Christie, Cat Among the Pigeons. This was also $2. And those are the paperbacks. I also picked up a comic. This is Galaxy Quest. The Journey Continues. That was $3. I don't know if that's a good deal or not, but I love the movie Galaxy Quest. And then I picked up 3 books from their was it their rare section collectibles? Yeah, their collectible section. So these were each listed at $10 a piece. So that should have been $30. But then when I went to check out, she rang up this 30, and then she looked inside, said something about comes from such and such section, so it should be discounted. So she ended up charging me $20 for these 3 books, which means that I got one of them for free, or they were each $6.66 a piece. I don't know. I don't know math. But me and my wife collect fairy tales. My wife loves fairy tales, and we try to collect some from different countries and different regions. And so I don't think we had any from Persia. This is Persian fairy tales. It doesn't have a dust jacket on it, but it does have a lot of great, if I can find the pages, artwork. So we got that one. And then I also love Bruce Lee, and I picked up the Bruce Lee story, which has tons of photographs in there. Um, I don't know how accurate or true this biography is, but it doesn't matter. I love Bruce Lee, and a story doesn't necessarily have to be true to be good. And then this one, ladies, you're going to have to look away because this one is for the boys. The racy pinups of World War II. Now, I can't show all of the pictures in here, but I can show a few. So we see the pinups, and then we see them on their planes. I can't show those. Show those. Got some Betty Page in here. I think everybody's covered in that one. Well, almost. Okay. I'll cover it one. At some point, I have a few art books that I will be doing flip throughs of, but I'm going to have to set parental controls on there so I don't get a strike on me for YouTube. But that was everything that I picked up from the friendly bookstore. Then I went to Fayetteville to a place called Dixon Street Bookstore. This is a massive bookstore. It just has, you think that you've seen it all, and then it's one of those where the hallways just keep going on and off to different rooms. It's huge. I did pick up some stuff from there. I didn't pick up a lot, but well, I picked up a decent amount. But they had a fantastic selection, and their prices were, they range between $2.50 to for mass markets, $2.50 to like $4.95, so just under $5. I don't. I've already taken the tags off these, so I don't know which each of these were, but they all ranged in that price. So this is a merit. I did not have the moon pool, and I love that cover art on there. I don't know if it credits who that is. Rodney Matthews. Kudos, Rodney Matthews. I like that. And then an Edward Llewellyn. This is The Bright Companion. I thought I owned this, but according to my database, I don't own any Edward Llewellyn. I probably have him in some short stories somewhere. That must be where I've seen the name. And then this is Anthony Boucher short stories, Far and Away. 11 master stories from Fantasy and Science Fiction magazine. And there's a list of the stories that are in there. And a Mac Reynolds that I didn't have, a Belmont science fiction. This is Earth Unaware. His unearthly power could destroy the world. Was there no one to stop him? Think that looks like Jeff Jones cover. I'm gonna say it's Jeff Jones. They don't credit him, but That's awesome. And then I do not know this author, Neil Shapiro. I've never heard of, but it is Planet Without a Name. The expedition from Earth was to colonize the alien planet to build a whole new society. It was idyllic until they learned they were not alone. And this is from Playboy Press. This is Ted Thomas and Kate Wilhelm writing together The Year of the Cloud. There was a race going on such as the world had never experienced before. It was a race to save humanity from death by thirst. It was a race that man might not even finish, much less win. And this was a total cover by, I have never heard of this author, Jessamine West, and I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of the title. The Chillikings, the Child Kings or the Chillikings. Says, what would happen if all children were the size of adults? That is a cool cover. Again, I don't know if they credit the artist. No, they do not. That's a shame, because that is a good cover. And then this also a cover by an author I've never heard of before, Sid Logston. It's Jandrax. But look at those birds. Oh, I absolutely love that cover. It says they were stranded by an act of violence on a deadly world of mythos and madness. Jan Andrix. As a child, he'd learned the ways of death in the worst holy war known to man. As a scout, he'd tamed 4 planets and more women than most men ever see. As a colonist, he'd have to tame a world, then fight the people he'd tamed it for. He was the colony's best hope for survival, but somebody wanted him dead. I can't read the name on there because I'm blind. Doug Beekman. Doug Beekman, you deserve some props for that cover. Now, the next two aren't actually for me. These are for my wife. So I found one finally that was on my wife's wish list of books she wanted. This is Frank Yerby, The Golden Hawk, the best-selling epic of piracy and lust on the lawless Spanish Main. So, Mrs. L. Space, I got you a book again. And such an awesome husband. And Deb, the omnivorous reader, she has one of the Harry Harrison Eden series, and she's looking for the other two. I found one that she was missing on a previous haul video, but Deb, I have found the first one in the series for you. This is West of Eden. This is the first book. So I did find it. The spine is a little knackered, but the rest of it looks in pretty good shape. I reviewed this last year. I don't know what it was, but this was probably my favorite novel of the year. That year, it's work. You have to work at it. There's a whole glossary in the back of world building that Harry Harrison did for this, but he put a lot of thought into this. And if you don't mind putting some effort in, because there's terminology, there's a whole new science that's based on biology instead of physics. This is a story about the meteor never hit Earth, so dinosaurs didn't become extinct. They evolved to be the primary species. Humans later on did eventually evolve, but they're still sort of at the hunter-gatherer stage of evolution, where a version of dinosaurs or at a have their own culture, their own society, their own sort of science based on biology. This was fantastic. And this year for Dinovember, I'm going to be reading the second book in this series. Um, but yeah, so Deb, uh, don't worry about hunting these down. We have the rest of them for you. And then finally, the last thing I got yesterday at the same Dixon Street Books is a game book. Now, I don't really get to play RPG games because I don't have people around in real life that I can do that with. I would love to, but um, if you know me, know I am a huge fan of the show Babylon 5, and evidently they did an RPG based on Babylon 5. So I don't know why I keep buying these when I can't actually play them, but I keep having fantasy that someday I'll be able to play games like this with a group of people. So that was everything from the Bentonville, Fayetteville area. And by the time I got done with that, I headed on. It was too late for everything was closed by the time I hit Tulsa and Oklahoma City, so I didn't get to do anything there. So the question is, where am I now? Well, let's just say I am somewhere where the stars at night are big and bright. I'm back.